A.J. Johnson.
It's my pleasure, I'm going to move this up, to introduce Congressman Patrick McHenry. So Patrick McHenry represents the 10th District of North Carolina. For those of you who don't know where that is, it's west of Charlotte, out to about Asheville, beautiful part of North Carolina. And he currently serves as the ranking member on the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman McHenry has also served in House leadership as Chief Deputy Whip. During his time on the committee, both in the majority and now in the minority, he has demonstrated an ability to work in a bipartisan manner on various issues, including those related to access to capital, and he's a leader in the fintech space. Today, he is giving his first public speech as ranking member of the Financial Services Committee, and he'll be sharing some of his goals as well as areas he'd like to work to continue working with Chairwoman Waters to find bipartisan solutions. So please join me in welcoming Congressman Patrick McHenry.
Thank you. Similar podium, different sizes. Great to be with you. It's an honor to be back at the Chamber, and grateful for the type of discussion and the convener that the Chamber is here in Washington, D.C., and for American business and growth. It's a substantial leadership role that we often take for granted, but I am deeply appreciative of. The great talent, great ideas that come as a result of the Chamber's engagement with their members, but also with American society and the American economy. Today I want to speak to you in a different way than I think most folks talk about financial services and financial products. And I want to tell you that being here today and the work that I do in Congress is 40 years in the making. And it's because 40 years ago, my dad started a small business in our backyard. And my dad lived what I thought of and my family thinks of as the American dream. He started a small lawn service in our backyard with a business partner. And over the rest of his life, he and his business partner grew that business, and that's what put my two brothers, two sisters, and I through college, and put 5 kids in the other family through school as well. And that lawn mowing business didn't change the world. It didn't even change our small community, but it did change my family's life, my father's life, his business partner's life, and employed and continues to employ hundreds of people in the community that I grew up in. And you know, while I understand my dad's business as watching it as a child and then having the opportunity, actually didn't have the opportunity, I had no choice, but had to work in the business. But I remember the relationship that my father had with his community banker and the struggles that he had to get lending and then insurance products that matched up with the business that they have. And so that was my first exposure to what banking or financial services represents. And so that is what's led me in public policy in the work that I've done. But, you know, these days, I'm concerned about the rhetoric out of Washington. We have politicians who have forgotten about small business people and the pursuit of the American dream. Some are saying that capitalism is irredeemable, that our economic system is fundamentally broken, and that the American dream is dead. I disagree. But we have to acknowledge that the market is under attack, and our sense of the allocation of resources, the fundamentals of our economy, are under attack. What we have to do is update our system to meet the needs of a modern economy. It seems some people want to give up and just throw the entire thing away. I think it's wrong. Look, you don't have to get a new computer every time. You just have to update the software system. We need better laws that comport with the needs and the desires of our American economy and the individuals in our American economy. And that is to match up our laws with the ability to achieve the American dream. In order for capitalism to work, people have to have skin in the game, and for the ability as individuals for them to be able to deploy capital in this marketplace. But that free market is fundamental to who we are as Americans. And serious policymakers know that we have to roll up our sleeves and update our laws that no longer make sense and simplify complex regulations to make them easy to follow, while ensuring that we do not take away what makes America the best, the most dynamic, and the most inclusive economy in the world. It's hard work, but that's what Americans expect, is hard work. There's a desire for it, a fundamental human desire to work hard and achieve good and great things. So today, I'd like to introduce you to a new framework of policymaking for the Financial Services Committee. That it does exactly that, acknowledges that need, that spark within us. And so there are three areas I'll focus on, and that's unleashing capital for small businesses, enabling financial innovation as a path towards financial inclusion, and ensuring American competitiveness for job and wage growth. We have to be competitive on the world stage. So on capital formation, it's hard for entrepreneurs to get financing. Small business loans made up 51% of loan values on bank balance sheets just over 20 years ago. Today, it's down to roughly 20%. That's a problem. Our capital markets are decaying. The average age of U.S. listed companies is getting older, while the total number of stocks is declining. Meanwhile, the new stock market, the path to prosperity, the opportunity for real growth, is happening in the private markets, places where only the wealthy and the connected can get a chance at the action and the upside. And yet the government continues to not allow everyday Americans to invest in private companies, despite the fact that Americans are allowed to spend over $80 billion annually on lottery tickets. That's not the American dream. Owning a piece of your community, owning a piece of the economy, that should be the American dream. So why do we let people invest in lottery tickets in the hopes of finding a better way of life, but we forbid them to invest in their friends, their families, and the next wave of American innovation? The policy solutions here are simple. Make investing in small businesses easier for more Americans. Let's give them the upside potential that we give to wealthy individuals under regulation. Let's be more permissive in allowing that growth to occur for average, everyday people that need that connection with the economy, that desire that connection with growth. So, as ranking member of the House Financial Services Committee, that means pushing for public and private market harmonization. Now, that's our speak for it. What the small business person wants to know is, as they grow, are there solutions for their wave of growth and their stage of business development? That's what they want to understand. What families want to know is, can they get involved in something that has an upside opportunity? And whether it's at an early stage or much later stage, they want to understand that there's a framework for them to participate in. We need to make sure that framework actually works for the outcomes that we seek. And it means finding new ways to let everyday Americans have access to new and innovative opportunities through investment crowdfunding and digital assets and angel investing syndicates. There's bipartisan understanding, cooperation around those ideas. And there's also bipartisan support for what we created in the last tax reform package a year and a half ago, called Opportunity Zones, which is a fantastic opportunity for communities to redevelop themselves. What we need are financial products that enable communities and local people to invest locally in those opportunity funds. So that is work that needs to be done in making law. Now, the future of banking is another important topic. The way that financial innovation works is through changes in our regulatory framework. And those changes in our regulatory framework can allow for a more inclusive banking system. So let's step back and think about the world pre-Dodd-Frank. Dodd-Frank was the last undertaking to remake our capital markets and our banking system. Well, when Dodd-Frank was passed, the iPad did not yet exist. Instagram didn't exist. Uber was only available in San Francisco. And in banking, the big innovation that year was that Bank of America allowed you to do this thing called paying bills on this thing called the internet. Great financial innovation. Actually, the iPhone was the number 3 smartphone in the U.S. market at that time. So needless to say, banking and the world has changed a little bit in that time. And we need our laws and regulations to change a little more than that. So yet, while the world has changed so much in that short period of time, the partisan battles over banking have remained basically the same. The debate on Capitol Hill has been static for a decade. That has to change. So we have to change the mindset of Washington, particularly the governing class. And the old fight over Dodd-Frank or not Dodd-Frank is dead. We have to move forward, and we have to move forward on an innovation agenda, promoting responsible innovation wherever we see it. That means clearing the path towards greater bank and fintech partnerships. That means tackling the tough issues of cybersecurity, protecting consumers' data, and updating outdated systems like consumer credit reporting bureaus so that they enter the digital age. It means creating a new paradigm of what I call permanent beta testing. For a century, we've had notice and comment via letters. If you want to make a change in regulation, there's a period of time, and you put your thoughts on a piece of paper, and you give it to your regulator. And they, in their infinite wisdom, will review that. And they will perhaps read that. Perhaps they'll stack it up. Perhaps they'll reference it. Maybe not. But that's been the system for 100 years in Washington. And that was a great innovation of the progressive era. So now we have to move to what I call permanent beta testing. That means acknowledging big data exists, that we have machine learning and artificial intelligence as solutions. And we have to have our regulators adapt big data and AI for our policymaking and regulatory tools. That is the next generation of regulatory footprint change, not just for the financial services regulators, but for the whole footprint of Washington and government generally. So, Congress. Lastly, I want to leave you with this. Everything that we do in the Financial Services Committee should be focused upon American competitiveness. American competitiveness allows wage growth, allows job growth, and allows opportunity. If we learn anything from the modern history of banking, it's that the last crisis is going to be different from the next crisis. And we must work together to make sure we're monitoring that risk. I don't know what the next risk will be, but I can tell you this: if we spend our time politicizing banking, we'll miss it. Politicizing banking distracts us from what needs to be an area of bipartisanship on Capitol Hill. And that list includes, on the risk front, monitoring global financial risk in areas such as the looming Chinese debt burden and cybersecurity, as well as the most imminent action internationally of a hard Brexit. Protecting Americans, combating terrorist financing by updating our laws on the Bank Secrecy Act and anti-money laundering regulations that we have on the books, modernizing the way we do insurance for both natural disasters and flood and man-made disasters like terrorism, keeping America competitive by modernizing our institutions like the Export-Import Bank, born out of a different era, but must be updated to manage our current challenges internationally and to enhance American market access globally. So finally, I think the solution I propose and outline are not partisan. They're not. And I tend to agree with those that say that as a conservative and as a liberal in Chairwoman Maxine Waters, that we have a fantastic opportunity to get big things done. And I think that is an opportunity that we have to seize upon in this time. That means finding bipartisan compromise for these major issues. That means not politicizing banking and not allowing the circus atmosphere of Capitol Hill to invade our committee. But I believe that means we have to focus on those fundamentals, focused on global risk, American competitiveness, and ensuring our capital markets function for small businesses, build a banking system that is more innovative and inclusive, and keeping America competitive. We can do these things. We can do these things and achieve great results by working together. But sometimes we have to put the Twitter away. We have to put social media away. We have to sit down, look across the table, and engage the people that are making decisions for us. That is the harder work. It is the harder work of legislating. It's the harder work of our political system, but it must be done. It has to be done for us to remain the most vibrant economy on the globe. I thank you for your leadership and the opportunity to be with you here today, and wish you a happy, healthy lunch. God bless.